the Hatterene, the Torkoal, the Rhyperior, the Dusclops, the Butterfree, and Snorlax, like you mentioned, two potential Gigantamax options there in the Butterfree and the Snorlax. That Dusclops is going to be really important to get the Trick Room set up, because it really looks like Natalie needs to get that Trick Room set up to have a hope of getting through sort of the much more hyper-offensive side of Alfredo's.
Well, something that I'm a little bit worried about, even though for Natalie, is just how kind of slow Conkeldurr can really be. So I would worry about whether or not Alfredo's going to bring that in the back and just really be able to kind of punch that damage home.
Absolutely. Conkeldurr loves punching. And if we've seen anything from historical video game championships, that never sleep on Conkeldurr. And here we go. The first match of the international championships, the first international championships on Sword and Shield. We are going to see the Hatterene and the Butterfree leads from Natalie, showing one of her Trick Room setters as well as a Gigantamax option up against the Grimmsnarl and Chandelure. Potentially very supportive start there from Alfredo.
Definitely a supportive start. I think that in terms of game one, it's going to be really important to see what that Grimmsnarl is capable of doing. We see a couple of different sets, whether or not it's going to run something like a fake tiers or run a little bit more of a defensive setup, like having those screens, but we're seeing a fake out first.
Yeah, fake out on the Butterfree just needs to make sure that they can't get off any kind of status effects like Sleep Powder. Chandelure shows the Imprison to imprison the Trick Room. Huge play there from Alfredo, showing the Imprison, making sure that Natalie just will not be able to set up Trick Room until that Chandelure is off the field.
That was really, really huge. Nat's turn one play was to set up that Trick Room, and Alfredo sniffed that out immediately and said, you know what, you're not going to be able to do that. Chandelure, often running that Imprison move, is capable of putting the Trick Room on itself and then making sure no other Pokemon is able to use that Trick Room. Yeah, so that was really impressive play there by Alfredo.
And that is just so disruptive if you're a Trick Room player. If you can't set Trick Room, then what can you do? And it turns out all you can do is switch out, try to get Rhyperior in, try to start getting some damage. Fortunately, really strong matchup against this Chandelure and the Grimmsnarl that are currently showing. But Alfredo absolutely in the driver's seat here, showing scary face on the Grimmsnarl, while Heat Wave will hit the protective Butterfree and just do a little bit to the Rhyperior.
Scary Face is such an interesting tech.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool tech to be seeing on the Grimmsnarl, and I think that means that this is just one of the ways that Alfredo is really teched their Pokemon in order to be prepared for all of those matchups. But what's going to be a little bit difficult is Natalie's really relying on this Rhyperior to get big damage, particularly if it gets a chance to proc what I'm going to presume is going to be that weakness policy as the item on that Rhyperior.
Yeah, it's just going to option a great option for Rhyperior because it can take hits very easily, as we saw with that Heat Wave coming out from Chandelure, and then also boost its attack by 2 stages with the weakness policy, allowing it to basically pick up knockouts wherever it tries. Looks like we are going to go ahead and see the Dynamax trying to get the Rhyperior even more bulky, even bigger damage, and making sure that you actually get the full use of that doubled hit points option from the Dynamax before taking even more damage from the Grimmsnarl or the Chandelure.
It's a huge health pool for that Rhyperior as well, so it is going to be able to take Heat Waves like a champ. Fortunately,
no damage.
Butterfree, though, really not going to be able to take that. As frail as it is not going to survive.
Yeah, you don't hate that, though, if you're Natalie. Gets you a free switch in later. Rhyperior does take a little bit more damage from the foul play, but we'll be able to finally get off this max Rockfall. Deals big damage to Chandelure, sets the sand, so even with that Focus Sash, Chandelure will go down. So if Natalie does have her Dusclops in the back, she now has the option of potentially being able to set up Trick Room.
Yeah, and potentially as well, we can bring back in the Hatterene and just be able to maybe do something with its ability, or even just preserve it if she really feels like this isn't the time for Hatterene.
Yeah, getting that Chandelure off the field is such a big deal. You would like to have seen that happen on turn 1, but you make do with what you've got. Inteleon is going to be the choice for Alfredo. Just going to go ahead and immediately threaten that Rhyperior. Even with the Dynamax and with the Solid Rock, Inteleon does so much damage. I don't know about that Rhyperior. But Hatterene is going to be the choice for Natalie to try and set up Trick Room.
I'm interested about what this Inteleon is going to do, just because I haven't gotten a chance to see Inteleon too much in action, but this is going to be potentially its time, especially all of the meta-analysis that I've read before this tournament. Inteleon's supposed to be a big star.
Yeah, Inteleon does big damage, and of course its a move Snipe Shot is really big for avoiding things like follow me's and ally switches. Don't have to worry about that right now. Instead, Inteleon's just going to be happy to Dynamax and deal big damage with Hydro Cannons against either this Hatterene or the Rhyperior.
This Grimmsnarl has been alive and kicking for quite a few turns here, and we've seen it, of course, show off that Scary Face option as well as the Fake Out, but what else is this Inteleon potentially running? I think Nat going for the Max Guard here is really smart.
Well, Fake Tears actually gets Magic bounced back. Not a lot of people have seen Magic bounce a lot until this cycle with Hatterene getting it. So Fake Tear is not going to work out for Alfredo this time around, but the Max Geyser coming out doesn't matter, still picks up the KO. Hatterene not going to be able to set that Trick Room and gets rid of the Sand as well for Rain to boost that Inteleon even further.
The Rain Boost is going to help Inteleon just get off major amounts of damage here. And again, that Grimmsnarl is sitting so healthy. Even now that it's shown that it has that Fake Tears as an option, that's something that Nat's going to have to play around in terms of Game 2.
Yeah, and now that the Hatterene is off the field, Grimmsnarl is free to just continue to Fake Tears, either the Rhyperior or the Torkoal. These are not the matchups you want to see. You don't want to see that Inteleon Dynamaxed across the field from you when your final two are Rhyperior and Torkoal out of Trick Room. But Torkoal does set the Sun, so Inteleon will be a little bit weakened here.
Going to be a bit weakened, but Fake Tears again, this time no Magic Bounce to bounce that back, so Torkoal is going to have its special defense fall in this situation, which is good because the Max Geyser's coming out and the Sun is set, but this Max Geyser going into the Rhyperior instead, that is going to be able to get the knockout.
Yeah, Alfredo prioritizing the knockout on Rhyperior, not the Torkoal. You know, Rhyperior does have, since it is Dynamaxed, it could use its max moves to do things like boost Torkoal's special defense, which might make things a little bit more difficult later. But Torkoal had to go for the Solar Beam there, but unfortunately, much like Melbourne, the Sun has been wiped away with some of the rain clouds. Not going to last, only going to last for 4 more turns, but you know, so if you wait it out, you'll be fine. You'll get the Sun back later, but not so great right now.
No, especially because it means that it's going to be stuck in that Solar Beam mechanic until it gets a chance to fire it off, but it might not even survive to do that because this Max Geyser coming in from the Inteleon.
Cool, that's so
it's going to be enough
much
to knock
damage.
it out.
Yeah, Inteleon making quick work of Natalie's team there, being able to imprison the Trick Room on turn 1, not allowing Natalie to play her game at all, basically. You know, that's what's so disruptive about Imprison Chandelure. Natalie's going to have to make some serious adjustments to make sure that she doesn't just get locked away out of a win condition so early on.
What I think was really interesting is that we saw Fake Tears come out a couple of times, but I'm not sure how much you really needed the Fake Tears to drop the special defense, particularly because Inteleon did get the Rain Boost.
Yeah.
So it was just able to dish out so much big damage. I just don't think that even knowing that is something that Natalie's going to have to play around here.
Yeah, those Fake Tears were, I think that was more just I want Grimmsnarl to do something, because Grimmsnarl hadn't gotten a chance to do much of anything the rest of that game. Although, it did manage to fake out the Butterfree to stop Butterfree from Sleep Powdering turn 1. It was able to get a little bit of damage with the foul play, and really, Grimmsnarl didn't need to be there. It was all about Inteleon just picking up those KOs, KO after KO after KO.
Natalie running that hard Trick Room team does have a couple of other options. We didn't get a chance to see the Snorlax, but maybe that's an option to bring to the table. But really, we're going to have to see some type of Trick Room get set, I feel, for the Pokemon that are on the team that are going to be the big damage dealers to shine. And that just seems so difficult when now you know Chandelure is running Imprison.
Yeah. And I think she had some good moments there. You know, getting the Rhyperior in against the Grimmsnarl and the Chandelure, there was the opportunity to deal some damage there. If she can get the Rhyperior in earlier, you know, maybe even just, you know, a standard Dusclops Rhyperior lead, go just immediately offensive to knock out that Chandelure, get yourself set up for the Trick Room, as well as getting your Rhyperior weakness policy procced under Trick Room earlier or at all. I think this is a really important team preview for her. because she can't get caught just allowing the Chandelure to imprison and lock away her entire win condition on turn 1 anymore.
I think leading Rhyperior would actually be a really great adjustment from Nat, just because we saw how little Heat Wave did to that Rhyperior. I think that it would be very safe to get in as a lead. There's not too much that's particularly threatening to that Rhyperior except for the Inteleon and potentially the Rotom mode, depending on what it's running. So I think that would be very, very safe, but we'll see if Alfredo reads that, or even if Nat makes that adjustment at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a hard play to make to lead the Rhyperior, because that's your damage against this team, but you need to get it out earlier, and if you catch something like an Inteleon or the Rotom Mow on turn 1, your Rhyperior is in such a weak spot, and you're going to have to dig out from there.
Game 2. Gonna have to be maybe a few adjustments there from Nat, but Alfredo was able to pilot that game 1 like a champ, and we're gonna see no real changes here actually from either player.
Never mind, they like how game 1 went. Butterfree and Hatterene on the side again for Natalie, and the Chandelure and Grimmsnarl for Alfredo. Now, one thing that we didn't see in turn 1 of the last game was the potential Gigantamax Butterfree. So you could Gigantamax, avoid the fake out, and then hope to get good status on that Chandelure or on that Grimmsnarl and make something happen there. Also, knowing the Imprison, Hatterene can just go for some offense now.
Yeah, I really love Butterfree's G-Max move, and if it is an option, since we really don't know yet, since we haven't gotten a chance to see that Butterfree do too much yet, I would really like to see a turn 1 Dynamax or a Gigantamax. That might be an option. But Hatterene just going to be switching out.
Okay, just bouncing out for Torkoal. So Torkoal will set the sun, is not afraid of Heat Wave from that Chandelure at all. Butterfree's probably feeling a little bit hung out to dry here, though. We'll just go ahead and Protect to try and save itself from any of the big damage coming out from the other side. And that's going to be another fake out into the Protect, and then Chandelure will go ahead and just repeat the turn 1 of last time, but with Torkoal out now.
This was a really safe turn 1 from both of these players. Nat recognized that because Chandelure was out on the field, may want to preserve the Hatterene for later and not get trapped in the Imprison again to deny the Trick Room. And I think Alfredo also went for a very safe play there, where seeing the Hatterene, you can just go for the turn 1 that worked for you in game 1, because it did work out really, really well. But this time, Nat was able to play that one like a champ, got that Protect off, and just made sure that that Fake Out wasn't going to get the value that Alfredo was hoping that it would. Yeah,
and now that Fake Out has been blown on turn 1, Butterfree could be safe to go for some Sleep Powders. Instead, it's safe to switch out for Hatterene. Just going to make sure that Natalie is swapping her Pokemon around, protecting the Torkoal. So another turn of not dealing any damage, just trying to get board position here. Heat Wave will connect with the Hatterene on the switch and deal some good damage, though.
Ooh, that's almost over half damage to Hatterene, and the foul play as well is going to bring it so low, but Hatterene is able to hang on, maybe able to get... I actually might not even be able to get an attack off, because Trick Room does have that lower priority.
Yeah, hard to get anything done when you're sitting at 4 hit points up against 2 Pokemon that are faster than you, and 1 Pokemon that Chandelure that does have a spread move. So Heat Wave totally able to pick up the little bit of chip damage on Hatterene, and then deal a little bit to Torkoal as well, while Grimmsnarl could focus there. I don't know, hard to say here, but Natalie really prioritized getting the Torkoal and the Hatterene on the same field, on the same side, so we'll have to see what she does with it.
Well, it's going to be a rotating door again. Torkoal going to be going back into its Pokeball for Rhyperior, and Rhyperior is going to have to be the big damage, but wow.
Yeah, Rhyperior needs to get some big damage off, but will just be taking a Shadow Ball on the switch-in, while Alfredo picks up the free KO on Hatterene with the foul play on Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl taking a KO this time. Rhyperior in the field, but already took half its health, so even if it Dynamaxes, it's just going to be back up to where it started.
This is a really tight spot for Natalie to be in, because she had to spend so many turns making sure her Pokemon were set up in the way that they were going to be able to do the damage or be supported, and at least they will be able to get that free switch in with the Butterfree, but there's still a couple of options here. Alfredo hasn't had to change any of their Pokemon up yet. Yeah. Really just taking control of the game.
All right, well now Butterfree is alongside Rhyperior. I think we've seen basically all of the potential combinations of the 4 Pokemon that Natalie has sent out. We'll go ahead and finally start making one of her Pokemon bigger. So going on the offensive in this turn against the Grimmsnarl and the Chandelure, going to be the Rhyperior. So unfortunately, because it took all that damage from Chandelure early, it's not going to get as much of a boost from the Dynamax as you want. You want that at full health so you get the full 444. But the Heat Wave deals so much damage still.
Heat Wave is going to bring Butterfree down to its Focus Sash and brings Rhyperior to about a quarter of its health. But finally, Butterfree getting a chance to do something. That Sleep Powder landing onto the Grimmsnarl will be able to put it to sleep.
Yeah, Grimmsnarl's asleep now. Butterfree finally got to do something, finally got to set the, to use Sleep Powder. Rockfall from Rhyperior will pick up the KO onto Chandelure. But it's going to set the sand for both the Focus Sash on the Chandelure and the Butterfree.
It's going to be a double knockout on the field. One for Alfredo and one for Natalie. It's going to leave Natalie down to their last 2 Pokemon. It's going to be the Rhyperior as well as the Torkoal. So the weather's going to get reset once again once that Torkoal comes back into play. And we still haven't seen the Pokemon that are in the back here for Alfredo because it's just been the Chandelure Grimmsnarl show for this game too. And if it's anything like that first game, I think it's going to be Inteleon hitting the field.
Yeah, there's Inteleon. And Rhyperior and Torkoal both again facing down Inteleon outside of Trick Room. Alfredo still has their Dynamax available as well. So the good news is that it's very difficult for Inteleon to knock out 2 Pokemon at once. So Natalie should be able to get off an attack here. She's going to have to make the most of it.
We'll have to see which Pokemon is... I mean, it's going to be Inteleon that's going to be faster here, so it might actually be very difficult for Torkoal to fire off an attack. We saw it go for a Solar Beam in that game 1, and of course we're going to see the Dynamax here now because Alfredo still has the Dynamax energy available. I bet you a lot it's going to be that Inteleon, and it will be able to reset the weather if it goes for a water-based attack.
Yeah, Max Geyser here picks up KOs easily on both of those Pokemon on Natalie's side and sets the rain so that Torkoal can't use its Solar Beam. And just for gravy, the Grimmsnarl will wake up to use its Fake Tears again on Natalie's Torkoal. So pretty sure we've seen what this how this ends. Max Geyser into Rhyperior picks up the KO easily, sets the rain. We'll have to see if Torkoal went for Solar Beam again or if it's going to be able to get some damage off.
Even if it gets some damage off, we don't necessarily are going to be able to see the full potential of that damage because the rain was set. So that is going to still be a very difficult situation to be in. But it was Heat Wave, not a Solar Beam this time.
And Heat Wave in the rain, that just feels bad. Not a lot of damage on either the Grimmsnarl or the Inteleon. Another Max Geyser here should pick up the win for Alfredo and start off the day 1-0.
What a great set here for Alfredo.